Do you have a sales team that you need to motivate? Check out this video right now and I will give you some awesome tips. Hey, welcome to the Millionaire Recruiter. I'm Brianna Rooney, your Millionaire Recruiter. If you have not seen this channel before, it's all about upping your game in the recruiting industry. So you're probably wondering, wait a minute, recruiting? Why are we talking about sales? Why are we talking about motivating salespeople? At the end of the day, recruiters are still salespeople because they have certain outreach they have to do and they actually have results they have to produce, which means numbers game, sales, you still also have to have offers that you need to close. So there's lots of techniques that we do take. We take tender loving care. Of course, we are not car salespeople, but let's just get into it. So first and foremost, I have found that to motivate my recruiters, you have to have contests, like all the time. It's so funny when people say like, oh, I'm not really a competitive person. Yeah, you strap on some contest with some money and some prizes, everyone's a competitive person, okay? Now, I like to do this pretty often. So I have monthly contests and I have quarterly contests because remember, you still want to think big picture. And what's really great is you need to make sure that these contests actually will result in results. Double word there. But so for example, so I will say, if I know that you need to have a certain amount of candidates put in the top of the funnel to result to a certain amount of actual candidates placed, that's going to be my contest. It's not going to be how many candidates are placed. It's going to be how many candidates are top of funnel or how many candidates are put to the final onsite, the final round. Therefore, the winner of that gets the money, gets a gift card, gets to be taken out to lunch, gets a massage, whatever it is, right? Whatever you can afford and that makes sense for you and that motivates them enough, because that's a whole other thing. You know, are people going to care about a contest for 20 bucks? Probably not. But it all depends on how you state that and what kind of culture you're starting to build, right? So the quarterly wins should definitely be a little more meaty and a little more exciting, and that one should really have the results in there. Because at the end of the day, you might be thinking, wait a minute, if a recruiter's job is to actually place people, why am I rewarding them for that? Well, you shouldn't. That should be their job, but at the end of the day, you're going to want like little wins because roller coaster of recruiting is really difficult. So sometimes it takes a long time to get to the actual placements. But if they have the right activity, but maybe they're in front of not a great client, you still want to reward them for that because still what they're doing is working. So that's the difference there. Another great tactic to motivate salespeople and your recruiters is to verbalize the praise often. Very, very often. Again, like they could be down to the dirt for 2 days in a row, for a week, for a month. And oh my goodness, you will see a huge dip in productivity and results. Now, sometimes you're thinking, well, if they're hitting their numbers correctly, like what's the deal? Recruiting's just different. It's a people business. So if they're putting out bad vibes, people are just not. They're not biting. They're not having good relationships with candidates. Their tone is a little bit off. So you definitely need to make sure, just like in the contest on celebrating the little wins, you do that on a daily basis, definitely weekly. You better make sure that you're praising them on a weekly basis. And again, it's not fake, right? You need to make sure that it's still like they're actually doing it and you're not being dishonest about it. But you definitely want to find something that they're doing right. Now you might be saying, what if they're not doing anything right? Well, then train them or get rid of them. Like that's what you have to be honest about too. And you can't come in too terribly late into their, them doing poorly and being like, yeah, you know what, sorry, you're not doing well. But you hadn't told them that the whole time. So this is where the praise comes in. And again, if you're having trouble coming up with praise, that's a different conversation. What I really enjoy on how I motivate my recruiters is I show them. I show them how I can do their job really well, just like them. So I'm showing them, this is how I do it. You do it like this, you can do it a little bit different, but look at, I'm successful here. So I think what's really important, that especially in recruiting, is that even the manager shows them like, look, I got this. Like I can get my numbers out. You can get your numbers out. I had a couple times where I was like, kind of like undercover boss I would do. And I would say, hey, you guys, for a whole month, I'm actually going to be a recruiter. I'm going to sit in the pit with you. I'm going to be a sourcer, and someone has to beat my activity. That was a whole different contest, and that just really excited people, but that was also my way of showing them, like, I still got it. So, like, listen to my advice. And it also keeps you on your toes too, and gives you some fun, right? Like, well, why can't you have fun anymore now that you're managing them? Another great thing to motivate salespeople is to let them in on your wins. How did you become successful? How are you? Well, why are you managing them? What did you do to get here? It's super important to give them as many stories as possible, not only to motivate them and inspire them, but to sort of show, like, look, this exists. This is real. I'm a real person, you know? Super important. And then last but not least on how you motivate them is you get into their psyche, into their mind. This is something I was recently asked, like, hey, what's the one thing you want to teach recruiters? And although I have lots of subjects I really enjoy teaching, getting in the psyche of a recruiter is one of my favorites because, again, this is such a roller coaster that we deal with that I love getting them to understand how important it is up here in your mind to win. And that when you're not winning, how you can trick your mind to feel like you still are, which again comes from the mini contest, comes from the praise, all of those things. There's all little great things in there. I like my recruiters to journal. I like them to, if they have a whiteboard in there, you know, if they're in office or at home, they have a whiteboard somewhere. I like them to put all their little wins up on the whiteboard. So at the end of the month, they take a picture of their wins and they store it and be like, hey, this is my August wins, this is my, October wins. It's just so important because I think that we forget those things, especially the more successful you are. I know in myself, the more successful I got, the less I celebrated even the small wins, which was so silly. And I found myself, about a year ago in like this turmoil because I was like, oh my God, I feel like a failure. I have no success anymore. Well, it's because I stopped writing it down. And then therefore it's like, I was almost like addicted to the success of it, and I kept wanting a higher success. So like even the small success was just kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever. I need more. It's like like this drug I was like searching for. And so I realized, okay, wait a minute, like let me go back into my mind and let me start writing down all of my wins all the time and reflecting, celebrating, and then moving forward. Because what you don't want is your salespeople, your recruiters to get what I call fat cat syndrome, which is when you're like rolling in placements, you're doing all these movements, grabbing all these clients, and then all of a sudden sitting back and relaxing. Because although it's nice to sit back and reflect and enjoy, the relax mode, never a good mode. So that's another thing you have to make sure that you're motivating your recruiters and salespeople to not get fat cat syndrome, and when you see it happen, to identify it and you let them know. So have fun with that. Motivate, 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 but don't forget to motivate yourself. So thank you for that. I would love in the comments below, I want to hear stories. I want to hear, stories of one, how you motivated people, like what worked for you. But additionally, I want to hear stories to very much keep it real as to, did you have a moment you didn't feel motivated? How did you get yourself out of it? Was it you in particular, or was it someone else that helped you get out of it? It kind of gives me the chills, but like I just want to hear those stories because I think we can relate so much. And like, I'm on a great trajectory for my career, but it's not all, roses, rainbows, and unicorns. There's been lots of struggle. So definitely put that in and reflect as well. So we'll see you every Thursday at noon. And don't forget, the money is just a vessel to do all the amazing things you want to go do in life. And if you need more training, definitely click below for thriversity.io. Bye guys.